Hello, everybody. Welcome to Community Conversations with Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. I am Ben Barber. Obviously, I am not Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. He is having some power issues in Cumberland at the moment. So, but we are going to nevertheless have this show. And if his power gets restored during this, or if he can get to somewhere with a little bit better cell phone service, he will be joining us in a little bit. Today, we wanted to still do the show because we have such an important community conversation. If you've never seen the show, this is every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We have people on who are talking about issues that really matter in our communities. And it's a wonderful thing. So if you have questions, comments, you can put them in the comments, and we'll try to get to them. Please be respectful, appropriate, but feel free to ask what you want to ask. Tonight we are having a panel on for the campaign for gun violence prevention in Rhode Island. So that is Andrea is sending me a message right now. Yeah, Andrea, he has no electricity, so this is what we're doing. Today we have a campaign for gun violence prevention in Rhode Island. He has been a strong supporter for gun control over the years, and I'm sure that he will love to talk about that a little bit later. So I'm going to bring on the panel now, and I am very excited to introduce them to everybody. Here we go. And tonight we have Linda Finn, Executive Director of the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence, Jennifer Boylan from Moms Demand Action. I don't believe Diane is with us yet, but we have Diane Garland, survivor, board member of the RICAGV, Reverend Howard Jenkins, Senator Josh Miller, Representative Justine Caldwell, Representative Catherine Kazarian, and Gabe Murnoff. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Community Conversations. How are you tonight? You can all unmute yourselves now. Thank you.
Great. Hi, I'm good. I'm doing well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And the Lieutenant Governor will be here as soon as he can, but we really wanted to make sure that we had this opportunity to let you guys all educate everyone. And I know from experience that that the Lieutenant Governor, even though he can't be here for this meeting right now, will at the very least watch and listen to everything that you guys say during this. So Linda, if you can start off with everybody want to introduce yourselves.
Sure. So my name is Linda Finn. I'm the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. And we're so pleased that the Lieutenant Governor has asked us to come here tonight to talk about the gun violence issue. There are so many advocates in the state that are represented here tonight on the screen, and then also around. So what we were going to do is just have everybody introduce themselves. So our Coalition Against Gun Violence is a coalition comprised of 120 organizations within the state, and we are have been very active on the issue for many years. So we can just go around and everybody can introduce themselves. Justine, do you want to go? You're next to me here, so you can go next.
Great. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Justine Caldwell. I'm the state rep for House District 30, which is East Greenwich and a portion of West Greenwich. I've been the House sponsor for the last 3 years of the bills to ban high-capacity magazines and assault weapons and a bill mandating safe storage. I've worked with, everybody here, and we have a great team put together this year, and I am really excited to talk about these bills tonight. And Pastor, you are next on my list, on my screen. Sorry. If you want to
Thank you very much, Representative Justine. My name is Pastor Howard Jenkins. I'm one of the representatives for Guns to Plowshare. And we support, all clergy support this particular effort, recognize the importance of gun control. And we also recognize that there is no need for assault weapons or anything of that nature, or bump stock guns, anything. And we want to make sure that we keep guns out of schools. So collectively, the faith community has come together, recognizing the importance of gun safety and gun control. And so I'm very happy to be here to talk more about that. Gabe, looks like you're up next.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe Murnoff. I guess I've been active on this issue locally for probably 3 or 4 years when I first got involved with the Coalition Against Gun Violence in high school, and then I was involved with Providence Student Union, and we used to collaborate with them, and now I'm part of a group at Brown University called Thoughts Protect Action, and it's really been a a lot of well, it's been a wild ride, I guess, with this on this issue for several years, but I remain really passionate about it, and I recognize the importance of gun violence as an issue, and and I'm really happy to be here tonight. I guess Jennifer is next.
Okay, thanks, Gabe. My name is Jennifer Boylan, and I live in Rhode Island, and I'm a volunteer leader with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I joined Moms Demand Action as soon as I heard about it, and it was an organization that started on the day after the Sandy Hook school shooting. So since that time, since January of 2013, I've been paying very close attention to gun violence and legislation, legislative advocacy, and elections around electing gun sense candidates. Representative Kazarian, you're up next.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everybody. My name is Catherine Kazarian. I'm a state representative for East Providence's 63rd district. I was first elected in 2012 now. And ever since I was first elected, maybe a few months after I was first elected was when the Sandy Hook shooting happened, which I think is one of the saddest days in American history. And ever since that moment, gun violence has been a really important cause for me to work on at the State House. I am proud to support and continue to advocate for several years now the school safety bill, which would ban guns from school grounds. So really excited about sponsoring that bill, excited about the other legislation that Representative Caldwell has championed as well. And I'm glad to see a lot of support, not only in our chamber, not to see the support growing in our chamber, but also with the community activists. So thank you to all of you, and thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Oh, Josh, you're next. Sorry, Senator Miller.
Hi, my name is Josh Miller. I'm a state senator from Cranston and a little sliver of Providence. I was first elected in 2006, so I've gone from the rookie to the veteran, it seems like, over the last few years. And so when I first became a state senator, I literally one of 2 or 3 people who was willing to sign on to a gun control bill. And now they have a large amount of support, and they're not all mine, but they're spread out throughout the state. And so I hang on with the assault weapons ban bill is still a bill that I've championed for several years. And put in a straw purchase bill this year, and you might have noticed that we even have the Senate President has got the school grounds bill this year. And so progress in relation to the importance of this legislation, and as I'm sure we'll get to later on why these efforts, and I'll make the case especially for weapons, is more important now than I'll wait till we get to that. Wait to go into that later. I think Diana is
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Diana Garlington. I am the Survivor Membership Lead with Moms Demand Action, and I am also on the board for Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. I chose to join both of these organizations due to the demise of my daughter, Essence Crystal, who was killed in a drive-by shooting in November 26th of 2011. As the young man said earlier, we will speak to you, a little bit more in general in regards to what we're going to do and what we have been doing in regards to gun violence in our communities.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Linda, can you give us a little bit of an overview of how we got here? You are muted at the moment, Linda. Sorry.
Thank you so much. So one of the things that we wanted to stress tonight too is that gun violence has been a really a major issue in many of our communities here in Rhode Island for many years. And right now, COVID is also decimating the same communities that have been really affected by gun violence. Right now in the Black and brown communities, the COVID patients are, there's 3 or 4 times as many COVID patients coming from those communities. And it's a similar situation with gun violence. We have that in our more urban areas. And so it's a really timely issue for us to be here tonight. This group that's here tonight, we have all been working together under the umbrella of what we're calling the Campaign for Gun Violence Prevention. So we have some of the national groups, Everytown, Moms Demand Action, Giffords, and then local groups as well, the Guns Into Plowshares, Thoughts, Prayers, and Action that were mentioned, and also the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence, NAACP, and I'm not going to name them all. There's 8 other organizations that we're all working with together on this campaign this year. So we're really excited to have this whole group working together on the issue. And, you know, why this year? Probably the biggest thing is that last year in 2020, Rhode Island was the #2 state with the highest number of gun purchases in the country. Only second to Michigan. Our gun sales were up 111% in 2020 over 2019. So we know that the more guns that are getting out into our community, the more accidents, the more deaths that are going to happen. And also the more straw purchases. There's many instances over the last few months of the police finding large caches of weapons that have been sold to people that really shouldn't have them. And we also saw an 87% increase in gun deaths in 2020 over 2019 here in Rhode Island. And that's a huge jump. And again, so the issue is very important to all of us. It's very important that we all focus on this issue as a public health issue. And everybody here tonight is going to explain that sort of their involvement in it and the reason why they're doing what they're doing. And also, we're going to talk about why legislation is so important, because there's no one answer to the gun violence problem. It's a very complex issue, but passing these package of bills that we've been advocating for 8 years, we've been advocating for these bills. We're hoping that this will help make a dent in the state and help to keep some of our citizens safer. So we are really pleased to be here tonight. And what I'd like to do is turn it over to Diana Garlington so that she can share her story. It's a very personal story. And she has been an advocate in the community working on this issue because she's really trying to prevent it from happening to anybody else. And so welcome, Diana, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Linda. As I spoke of earlier, unfortunately, my 21-year-old daughter, Essence Crystal, was driving down Broad Street in Providence, Rhode Island. The day after, we had a beautiful dinner for Thanksgiving. She was driving with her boyfriend and another passenger who was in the back seat of the vehicle, and a dark-colored SUV pulled alongside of the vehicle on the passenger side, opened fired, and unfortunately, Essence was the only one who was hit. The car was left engulfed in flames on its top side. They transported Essence to the hospital, and upon arrival, I did find out that Essence was lost in that drive-by shooting. So as Linda was saying, I just, felt that as a mother and as a individual in the community, I needed to step up and continue the fight in regards to gun violence. So I would say for about 7 to 8 years, I spoke out to the community, elected officials, the mayor, governor, just anybody who would basically listen to my plea to try to come forward and help me in the fight of solving some of these murders. Unfortunately, with our last numbers from 2000 to present, we have 133 unsolved murders. We just had 2 added, unfortunately, this year. So what I have done going forward was to reach out to Moms Demand Action, which is an organization that I am the survivor membership lead for, and just brought it to them and explained that, you know, living in a community where our people of color are experiencing large numbers of violence, it was totally unacceptable. I didn't want Essence to be labeled as just a number. And as I will continue to echo, our children were not born as a number, they were born and given a name. So we have to understand that when it comes to violence, this is something that, you know, each and every one of us must continue the fight with. So we decided that we were going to start an initiative, and it's called Safer Communities for Justice. And Safer Communities for Justice was established so that we can bring awareness to our community in regards to the unsolved murders, and find a way that we can, you know, reach out to our mayor, our elected officials, and importantly, was our community to understand that as long as we continue to live in these communities with unsolved murders, we will continue to be unequal. We will continue to have these type of things that we're going through as far as violence, especially during a pandemic. And unfortunately, our people of color are suffering twofold. Not only are we suffering from, you know, being killed and having the highest numbers in violence, we are suffering from a pandemic where we're being dealt a total different card from our other people of colors. So as I said, we decided that we were going to reach out with the initiative Safer Communities for Justice. We are working very closely now with Mayor Lawzer, Attorney General Peter Nerona, and some of our police and law enforcement. So going forward, I would just like to ask if, you know, if you can continue to listen for information as far as Safer Communities for Justice. We have many events going forward. And most importantly, I would like to speak to my community and, you know, just share with you. I understand, you know, the pain that we are experiencing, but as a community, we have to stand up. We have to reach out to these individuals who can implement these policies and change these laws so that we can get some solace for the families who are suffering from unsolved murders. So thank you so much, Linda, for allowing me to speak on that initiative. And as I said, I would like to have anyone who would like further information or who would just like to be involved with Safer Communities to please take the time to reach out.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Ben's muted.
All right. Thank you, Diana. Yes, I turned my volume down. Thank you, Diana. Reverend Jenkins, could you tell us a little bit about the community, the impact that all of this is having on the communities?
First of all, the Guns to Plowshare is a effort that is led by Liz McClay, Minister Liz McClay, and it's has brought together various clergy of various faiths. We recognize the value of life most importantly, and we recognize the importance of having a strong community. When we look at having a strong community, it becomes very important to recognize the things that are going on within our community that has a tendency to tear up the community and cause and wreak havoc within our community. And gun violence is one of those things that continue to be a problem within, I'm going to call the BIPOC community, BIPOC being Black, Indigenous, people of color. As we began to recognize and understand the things that are going on, it becomes even more critical to recognize the Sandy Hook incident, whereas it's not in the urban setting, but yet it's in suburban. So sometimes it's important to understand that gun violence just does not exist within the BIPOC community, but it exists in your suburban communities. And sometimes there's an overshadowing cloud in regards to that. What I'm learning and talking with state police officers, a lot of the gun violence, particularly in urban settings, is from individuals that are gun owners, that are licensed gun owners, that do not lock their guns up properly, and they leave guns in their cars. And so as a result, this also becomes a problem. In addition to, when I listened to Diane's story, I also recognize that there is just a gun violence period relative to what is going on that is taking innocent lives. So it becomes very important within the faith community that we come together, which we have come together in prayer and looking at initiatives supporting Linda in regards to legislation that covers a large gamut. We recognize that assault weapons aren't needed on the streets. We recognize that the ban for bump stock is something that we definitely want to make sure, but we also want to make sure that we understand the importance of gun violence and also gun safety. And so it becomes very important that we begin to look at legislation that can not just reduce, but eliminate a lot of different vehicles in regards to pathways that guns are on the street. It becomes extremely important that we support each other in a collaborative effort, because you have a lot of different pockets here that are joined together, and we're stronger together and not individuals. And so when we're able to recognize how we can lift each other up, it builds a much stronger, not just a community, but it builds a much stronger state. And when we have the leadership that is supportive, it makes the job a whole lot easier when we are presenting legislation to turn the tide so that we can eliminate and take guns off the street and have mechanisms in place that can monitor what is happening within the purchases of guns. So let's be real. Gun is a big business, and we're not just fighting against gun violence, we're fighting against the monopoly of what guns bring into different businesses in itself. And so what we want to make sure that we're able to do, we're not saying people should not have guns, but we need to make sure there's some type of monitoring that is going on, and we need to control guns, and we need to control the violence of guns. And so we recognize as faith community with Plow to Gun Share, we had congregants that came and turned in their guns and transformed those guns into tools. And so that says a lot. Anything that we can do to take guns off the street will benefit a life. And so it also becomes an example for our young people to see that guns are not a toy. It's not something that should be used. Guns have a purpose, and it is not meant to be on the street. And so it becomes very important to us as faith leaders to be able to practice what we preach in regards to valuing life. And so, again, I thank you for this opportunity. And I thank Linda and all those that are in complete support of gun control and gun violence that will help us to have safer communities in our urban settings and also in suburbia. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. It's tremendous work that you're doing. Jennifer, could you talk to us a little bit about some of the successes that Moms Demand Action and the coalition have had in this fight?
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to. Like I said, I've been paying attention very closely to this issue and involved as an advocate going back to very early in 2013, immediately after the Sandy Hook shooting, when I started really digging in and learning about our nation and our state's gun laws, and attending my first hearings up at the State House. So back in 2013, in the General Assembly in Rhode Island, the governor then, Governor Chafee, introduced a packet. I think it was the governor with the Attorney General introduced a package of gun bills. I think there were 13 at the time. And I attended my first Senate Judiciary hearing ever, knowing absolutely nothing about the lawmaking process other than I'm just a bill from Schoolhouse Rock, which was my framework at the time. I'm happy to say I've learned a lot more since. But starting in 2013, an assault weapons ban had been introduced along with a myriad of other gun bills. I didn't see any meaningful traction in any of those original bills until the domestic violence gun bill started moving along. And that bill, which was sponsored by Representative Teresa Tanzi, it had it was signed into law by Governor Raimondo in 2017 after working really hard for years on that bill to advocate to take guns away from domestic abusers, which seems pretty much common sense. The following year, early in 2018, February, Valentine's Day is when the Parkland school shooting occurred. And immediately right after that, Governor Raimondo took executive action and signed a red flag executive order. And the Rhode Island's red flag law passed and was signed in mid 2018, very quickly. At the same time, Rhode Island banned the use of bump stocks, and that was as a result of the Las Vegas mass shooting, the worst mass shooting in modern history in America. Then the next victory occurred last year. In 2020, we had success. It took about 2 years of advocating, but ghost guns, which are homemade, do-it-yourself guns that people can make from kits without a background check, those became regulated. It was the first bill that was signed by the governor right after the pandemic lockdowns were lifted. So those are some good successes, and I'm really proud of the work that has been done. It was a lot of effort on the part of advocates. There's been a lot of change over the years in terms of the makeup of the lawmakers that support this. There's a lot of demand from constituents across our state to have better gun laws. And I'm really proud of the success that we've had. And I'm very hopeful that we can keep the momentum going in 2021.
Thank you very much for that, and for all of your advocacy. And those are some great successes. Let's move on to the legislation. Senator Miller, we'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about an overview of let's go through an overview of some of the bills. And I believe that you're going to start with the assault weapons ban.
Yeah. So I want to go a little bit further back in history just to kind of so people understand the momentum and a little bit of my experience going back a little bit further than in history than 2013 and so as just to get people caught up on this, there was a federal assault weapon ban from 1994 to 2004. And so there were legislation was introduced state by state as soon as the ban expired or wasn't renewed in 2004. So when I came in 2006, sworn in 2007, I actually signed on to existing bills that started right away when there was an assault weapon ban. And probably there was a companion magazine bill at that point also. So this is an effort that goes back at least to 2004 for most efforts. And just to put it in a context that is incredibly frustrating, I know not only for electeds, but many advocates, is that we go through a cycle where it becomes a desperate effort based on a mass shooting. And what a mass shooting kind of, that frustrating cycle, what it seems to overwhelm is the conversation that happens in communities like Providence and Cranston and beyond, Woonsocket, suicides in every community almost every day. It overwhelms that conversation on the need for gun control in every community every day, and not just as a reaction to a mass shooting. I've been involved even before the being elected, thanks to Sister Ann, who started the Institute for Nonviolence, and she roped me into that effort. And just so people understand the scale of this, is that Institute of Nonviolence, I believe it's between 200 and 300 calls from hospitals in the state to help in a hospital after a shooting. So that's how frequent we have shootings in our communities in Rhode Island, at a minimum. And I'm also on the Providence Police Advisory. And so we get statistics every month or every 2 months when we meet. And all crime is down under the pandemic, except for gun-related crime. And as Linda went over, purchases are up almost double from previous years. So as we're overwhelmed, and as the health chair, our priority is COVID-related legislation. But there could be a case to be made that this should also be a priority, based on that there are more guns in our communities as there ever have been, and as other crime has gone down, gun violence crime has gone up. So everybody should understand why this is a priority and why it's a priority between mass shootings. And they should also understand that it's motivated also by those who are in law enforcement. And when you ask law enforcement, which I have the opportunity to ask and hear from, is that if you ask them to prioritize legislation that hasn't been passed that needs to be passed, assault weapons straw purchases, because they want to not only protect the communities, they want to protect their officers. And their officers are under the biggest danger from guns they can't trace and assault weapons that are more powerful than the weapons they're able to carry on a regular basis.
Well, thank you very much, Senator. Representative Caldwell, if you could talk about the high capacity magazine ban bill.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to add a brief pitch for one of my other gun bills, a bill mandating safe storage. First, quickly, after Pastor Howard mentioned how important that is, also related to health and safety during these COVID times when we know that mental illness and suicides have become such a huge problem here in Rhode Island and everywhere. So, speaking of the senators, talking about how mass shootings kind of motivate us in a cycle at the State House. I have 2 little kids. I did not mention that when I introduced myself. Now they are 6 and 8. And when Sandy Hook happened, my son, my oldest, was 9 months old. And I was on a cruise ship with my family when we could still do things like that in a regular world. And they announced over a loudspeaker that this tragedy had happened. That all of these children had been killed in elementary school, and we were going to hold a moment of silence. And I looked at my then 9-month-old and thought, oh my gosh, thank God it's going to be another 5 years until he starts school, because there's no way anything like this would ever be able to happen again. This is not going to be an issue I have to worry about. And now, of course, so many years later, this is still an issue. It brought me to be involved with Moms Demand Action when I started to get politically involved. It was, a big deal when I was running for office. So the high capacity magazine limits magazines to 10 rounds. It has overwhelming support in the House. Last year, we had 42 co-sponsors, which is over half of the House. And I think we picked up a few sponsors in the most recent election cycle as well, which is very exciting. When I talk to people about this bill and, in conjunction also with the assault weapons ban, I usually talk about the shooting that happened 2 summers ago in Dayton, Ohio. Where a young man opened fire, and you might remember he used a 100-round drum on his assault weapon, and he was able to shoot off 41 rounds in 30 seconds. So he started shooting. In 20 seconds, police were on the scene. In 32 seconds, they shot him. And in between those 32 seconds, he was able to shoot off 41 rounds. He was able to kill 9 people and injure 17 more people with that gun and those rounds. We have heard over and over again, like the senator said, from police officers that although it's not a huge amount of time when shooters have to stop and reload, that those moments are precious. Those moments allow law enforcement, time to save lives. That 100-round drum you could buy in Rhode Island. That is legal in Rhode Island today. We're the only New England state. We are a destination in New England to come buy those magazines. They are illegal in Massachusetts, Connecticut. I wrote these down, Linda, you'll have to correct me. Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Vermont, and Maryland. There was a few more out west that I left out, but we are surrounded by states who have prioritized this. And most of those states, except for Vermont, also have an assault weapons ban. So we are really leaving ourselves as a place where criminals will come, buy these dangerous weapons, and take them back to their states. People don't need these magazines for hunting. They don't need them to protect themselves from a home invasion. They need them to kill as many people in the shortest amount of time possible. And, I have to concur with everything Senator Miller said. This is a public health issue. We have gone through these hearings, so this will be my third year introducing them in the State House, and my third year at the State House as a legislator, but I was there in some of the years before as an advocate. And we have similar hearings over and over again every year where victims come in, folks like Diana, and tell their stories over and over again, and not much changes. And so this is the year that we need to insist that we prioritize these bills.
Thank you very, very much, Representative Caldwell. Representative Kazarian, can you talk a little bit about the School Safety Act?
Absolutely. So before I was a legislator, I was a student. And I remember being in elementary school, middle school, and high school, and doing these drills, school shooter drills that we called, it was like a code red drill. And I remember hiding under our desks. I remember them putting us in certain sections of the room. I even remember in high school, we had to all traipse down to the basement. And it was a really unnerving drill to continue to go through. And so being in elementary school or in primary school and going through those drills, thinking about how scary the idea was to us that somebody could come into our school with a gun, despite all the security measures that we had in place, that was a possibility, really frightened me as a student. And then, fast forward to, like I said during my introduction, when I was first elected as a legislator, to hear about Sandy Hook and what happened to those children. Again, like the Reverend said, in a suburban area, pretty affluent area, a school that had the same safety measures that all of my schools had, was really jarring, really sad, and made me feel like I really need to do something about this. One thing I always like to mention is, despite working on gun safety measures throughout my entire tenure as a state representative, every term that I go and run for office, more and more people are talking about common sense gun safety at the doors, and I look at that as it's sad that these school shootings have continued on and they've gotten worse and worse. But I also look at it as a victory from the advocates, people like Moms Demand, like the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. They're really working to get their message out. They're really working to make sure that people know that we are fighting for this type of legislation, and our constituents really want to see something get done. My particular bill, the School Safety Act, would ensure that no schools are on school grounds, are allowed on school grounds. This would put our schools in a similar jurisdiction as our post offices, our convention center, even our own state house, where Senator Miller, Representative Caldwell, and I, go to work at session every day. We just want to put our kids under those same protections that we have. Talking to a lot of students too about this bill and how they feel about gun safety, it's top of mind for a lot of them. I think about, again, in my situation, Columbine was a really big story, and it really scared a lot of us. Now there's so many different shootings happening. You can't even name all of them. And, we've all mentioned several, and we haven't even named all of them. So I think it's really top of mind for these students. I know that they are uncomfortable. They're worried, and they want to make sure it doesn't happen at their school. So this measure would help ensure that there's those extra protections. Again, that a teacher can't bring their gun into a school. parent can't bring their gun on school grounds. I also want to echo, this is something that our public safety, our police officers, officers of the peace have all recommended, something that they would like, because God forbid they have to go to school for a school shooting. They are trained to take out every person with a gun, and they aren't going to be able to tell a good guy with the gun versus a bad guy with a gun. So again, it would create that unnecessary violence. Also putting teachers in a position that they shouldn't have to be in. This idea that they're supposed to protect their kids by having guns in the classroom, it just creates a whole new problem for students and for teachers that they don't want. So again, looking to introducing this bill again this year, seeing broader support, which I think is really a kudos to the activists who have been working so hard to get their message out, make sure elected officials are taking a stand on these bills, supporting their passage, and also that constituents are asking about at the doors, which I think is really crucial. So thank you again to everybody for having me on here, and I can answer any questions about the bill too, if you'd like.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Representative Kazarian. And that all sounds wonderful. And really important. Gabe, can you and Jennifer talk to us a little bit about the grassroots movement and what everyone can do to help in this situation?
Sure, I can go first, and Jennifer, if you want to add on, I'm sure I'll miss some things. Well, I hope not, but we'll see. I think first and foremost, the most important thing is making sure at the grassroots level, making sure, like a lot of the people have said here tonight, like how important the issue of gun violence is and how it connects to other issues that we talk about a lot, like racial justice or racial injustice, police brutality, and even public health and COVID. And things like that, making people really understand and passionate about the issue and seeing how relevant it is to everyday life, like people have said, and to people's lives in general. And that's the first step. And then after that, it's about building coalitions and building allyship, especially with people working on other issues, like I said, like with racial justice and even issues like housing and climate justice. All the issues are connected in some way. Building that grassroots support, building coalitions, especially getting people involved, particularly people that have been marginalized, like communities of color, but also younger people, because that's a lot of times where you're going to get some really enthusiastic supporters. And then it's just about, after that, it's just about having a united front, continuing to show up to the State House repeatedly, even when those a lot of pro-gun people can the NRA can get a gazillion people in yellow shirts there, which is not representative of the of the way the population actually feels. But we have to match that enthusiasm, and that's why building a united front, having united common message, getting all sorts of communities involved, and especially in gun violence prevention, a lot of times it can be kind of white, and so getting especially engaging communities of color who are most impacted by that, in advocacy work and making sure that advocates, are representative of communities affected by it. I think that's all I'll say about it. But
Jennifer, is there anything you'd like to add?
Sure. I guess what I would say is that, even though there's a pandemic going on and the way lawmaking is happening is really different, gun violence has not stopped. It's gotten worse. And neither do the advocates and the volunteers that I'm working with. Moms Demand Action started as an online movement. It was originally just a Facebook page that started on the day after the Sandy Hook shooting. And one of the things that we know pretty well how to do is to organize online and to activate volunteers to really show up. And there's so many different ways to get involved. I would encourage anyone who cares a lot about this issue to educate themselves on what our gun laws are like in this state and in our country, and to get involved in an organization that that is doing the work, so you can learn all these advocacy skills that will help support gun sense legislation. There's a whole virtual network of things that are going to be happening over the next session, and they range from meetings with legislators, which we would normally do in person, but guess what? How we're going to be doing them? We're going to be doing them over Zoom or on the phone. There's going to be letter writing campaigns. There'll be digital campaigns. There's going to be a really robust advocacy day that we're planning, and it's going to look very different than advocacy days in the past because it'll be virtual, but I'm hoping it'll actually be in some ways more effective. My volunteers tend to be busy working parents, and not everyone can go to the State House and sit there for 9 hours to wait for their turn to testify. So perhaps virtual advocacy day will give a lot of people the opportunity to participate in ways that they had not before. So there could be some additional momentum behind these bills from people who can find their voice in another way during a pandemic. So let me just give one plug. If you like what you hear from Moms Demand Action and are interested in finding us, you can find us on Facebook. You can find our website, or you can just text the word READY to 64433 to join. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. And we're coming to the end here, and I just want to go around and let everybody say closing statements, anything else that you'd like to add, any closing statements that you have. Let's go reverse order. So Diana, we'll start with you. Oh, there. Okay. Yeah. Yep. There you go.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you. In closing, once again, I would just like to ask everyone to make sure that you follow Safe Communities for Justice. You can follow us on Facebook, or you can send me an email to Rhode Island Survivor3@gmail.com, so that you can get information going forward of our events that we have coming up. And as I said, we just want to continue to bring awareness. We want to continue to fight for our community as far as violence in our communities. And we just want to move forward as far as bringing our community back together with peace and unity, instead of, the violence that we have suffered in the past years, as I said, from 2000 to present, where we are experiencing 131 unsolved murders. So please continue to reach out, and please continue to follow me for Safer Communities for Justice.
Thank you very much, Diana. Senator Miller?
Yeah, I just want to touch on something that Jennifer brought up on how this could transition in a COVID environment on virtual. One thing I've noticed in the last few years is that support for the type of legislation you just heard about has grown dramatically over the last several years. You look at all the polling. And at the same time that the support has grown, the NRA and affiliated groups have had more people show up at the State House. And forums that have more parity to what Rhode Islanders really feel about issues, and more facts are brought into it rather than just the brawn of what you see in those kind of convenings at the State House. There might be a glimmer of optimism on how these issues are presented. They will be presented by facts, and they will be presented representing a real majority that has support for this kind of legislation.
Thank you so much, Senator. Representative Kazarian.
I just want to thank everybody again for putting this together. Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to kind of take a little bit of what Senator Miller said and emphasize that your opinion on this matters, your advocacy matters. I am so proud of the people who you saw this issue wanted to do something about it, have joined these groups, and have taken their time to come to the State House and advocate for them. I just never minimize the power of that. Reaching out to your senators and your representatives, having those conversations. You've all been incredible. And I just want to, put a last plug out there to anybody who is, on the fence, doesn't know if they can do that or not, but you feel passionately about this issue. I encourage you to get involved because your advocacy is so helpful and has really helped turn the tide. So again, just thanking all the advocates and encouraging everybody to continue working on it because your help is really what helps us get these bills passed. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Representative. Jennifer.
Sure. I'm going to close with two themes in my closing statements. One is I just want to acknowledge Diana Garlington for being a voice for survivors of gun violence in this panel. I know as a mother to a mother, I can't imagine what you go through every time you tell your story, but I'm proud to know you, and I'm with you 300%. And thank you for sharing the story of your loss to try to advocate because it's powerful, it's important. You shouldn't have to have gone through that. And it's inspiring to me, and it makes me want to keep going. So thank you. And then the second thing I'll say really is that, the need to pass better gun laws has never been more important. It's just really important for us to keep the pressure on, to keep going, despite this pandemic, which has actually made things worse. We need to really get creative on how we're going to advocate, and we need to press forward with common sense gun safety policies and with changes to gun culture in this country to make our communities, our states safer. Thanks.
Thank you. Gabe?
Yeah, so I just want to thank you again for allowing me to speak here tonight. I guess the theme, I echo what everyone else has said, but I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the years is that, especially, on every advocacy issue really, but especially this issue, it's really a marathon and not a sprint. And, it takes a lot of, it does take a lot of energy, but at the same time, like Representative Kazarian said, we need people to get involved, and it's totally worth it if you're passionate about it because this is such an important issue to so many people. And it does take a while, but the best things in life tend to take the most work or tend to take the most effort. But it is totally worth it because this is such an important issue, as so many people have said. And that's all I'll say.
Thank you very much, Gabe. Reverend Jenkins.
First, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. On behalf of Guns to Plowshare, we appreciate being able to share. And I'm going to piggyback on Senator Miller and Representative Kazarian. Data says that over 70% of our communities support gun violence and gun control. And so that says a lot. And with those persons that are with us today on this panel, it also identifies a cross-section of support that's out there. So we will continue to do what we need to do to have our voices heard. And the numbers are gaining, and over 70% is a very good number. And I think we have the right legislation in place to make major differences. Again, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Rep. Caldwell.
Thank you so much. I want to thank, Ben, your office for hosting us tonight, and also you for really rolling with the punches here. That was wonderful. So I'm so glad we got to do this. And I know we'll all be talking to our soon-to-be Governor McKee about this in the future. I want to thank everyone. This is really a team effort. These are huge bills, really important things to get over the finish line. And folks have been working together since before I have joined the team. And we always need more people to help and to advocate, to call their legislators, to come and testify. And so, everyone is welcome to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help anyone learn how they can advocate for these bills. I'm just so optimistic for this year. I have members coming up to me in our chamber in the vets every day that we meet saying, have you put in your gun bills yet? Please don't put your gun bills in before I can sign them, you know, and so there's so much excitement and momentum. And that's because I'll echo the Whip Kazarian, who mentioned that, you know, it's really because of all of you that so many of our colleagues are so excited about this because of the work that you have put in for so long. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Rip. Linda, thank you for putting all of this together. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, I just want to thank everybody. And also, there's a couple things that I wanted to mention. Pastor Jenkins mentioned the support. We did a statewide Rhode Island poll last March, less than a year ago. And as he stated, there is over 70% support for banning assault weapons, over 70% support for banning high capacity magazines, and even more support for making sure that civilians are not carrying guns onto school property. So there definitely is statewide support. This year was the first year that our group and the Moms Demand Action group had endorsements of candidates that won elections where we know that we have the votes on these bills if they get to the floor for a vote. We know there are enough senators to vote them in, and we know there are enough representatives to vote them in. So we're just really hoping that we will get those votes and that they'll be taken this year so that we can get these things to move forward. And lastly, if anybody that's listening wants to sign a petition to show your support, we have a petition on our website at www.ricagv.org, the Coalition Against Gun Violence. So please go on and sign a petition. We're going to be sharing that petition with our legislators. And so we're just, you know, this is a great group of people. And there's so many more out there who are also have been working really hard for all these years. So we really appreciate that the Lieutenant Governor is going to be taking this issue seriously and that he asked us to be here tonight. And we're just so appreciative. And Ben, you did a great job stepping in over there. So, you know, you put your application in for Lieutenant Governor, I think.
Well, thank you very much. And I just want to say that, yeah, I'm just the producer of the show. So I do not speak for the Lieutenant Governor. But I do know that, that he cares very much about everything that you guys have to say. And he's very, sorry that his power, went out tonight, that he had no power, to be here, no electricity, and that is unfortunate. But I know that that he will want me to ask you guys to come back soon and to reschedule so that he can talk to you all face to face for sure. And he's the person that that gave us the direct go ahead to go ahead and make sure that we were able to share all of your stories and all of your and everything that you guys had to share tonight. So so the internet was not our friend this week. The internet and electricity with the small business town hall. But I just want to say thank you to all of you. And also, if you guys can do this, if you would all be able to put the contact information to the Facebook pages and the websites and stuff, if you put that all directly into the comments on the Lieutenant Governor Facebook page, that is this will be seen by it's already been seen by hundreds tonight, and it will be seen by thousands within the next couple days. So all of that information that you want to get out to people, all of those links, if you just send that over there. I was pulling double duty tonight, so I wasn't able to put some links in the comments for you, but if you just put that over there, then everybody will be able to find you easily. Thank you all to all 8 of you. That was a wonderful conversation. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for Community Conversations. My name is Ben Barber. I apologize that the Lieutenant Governor, soon-to-be Governor McKee, was not able to join us tonight. Please join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for Community Conversations, and every Tuesday where we talk about really important issues just like this. And it's a wonderful program, and it's something that I know that the Lieutenant Governor plans to keep doing and keep having this access open. Also, the small business town halls every Tuesday at noon, same place, and that is great. You get to ask questions directly to the head of the SBA. the DLT about unemployment, PPP loans, for the SBA, all of that stuff, DBR. So any of that, you can check that out at here on Tuesdays at noon. So thank you guys very much. Have a great night and stay safe.